Sometimes the strongest thing you can do isn't fight harder, argue louder, or chase someone who doesn't value you. The real power, forgetting they ever existed in your life. Because when you stop giving them attention, stop feeding their ego, something incredible happens. Karma steps in. It doesn't need your help to show them exactly what they lost, and more importantly, what they'll never get back. This isn't about bitterness. It's about reclaiming your worth, your peace, and your future. Ready to see how letting go can become your ultimate glow-up? Let's dive in. Cutting ties with someone who has caused pain or disappointment isn't a sign of weakness. In fact, it's one of the strongest, most empowering moves you can make. There's a misconception that walking away means you've given up or that you're somehow less resilient, but nothing could be further from the truth. When you decide to stop engaging with someone who doesn't deserve your time or respect, you're taking control of your own life in a way that demands respect from yourself and from the world around you. Think about it when you stay stuck, caught in a cycle of trying to fix someone else's ego or waiting for their recognition. You're handing over your power. You're letting their actions and choices dictate your emotional state. But when you step away, when you say enough is enough without drama or desperation, you are sending a clear message. You control your story, your happiness, and your future. This isn't about punishment or playing games. It's about self-respect. It's about valuing yourself so much that you refuse to be a footnote in someone else's story who never saw your worth. Walking away is like drawing a boundary that can't be crossed. It's saying, I know my value and I won't settle for less. That boundary doesn't have to come with a big announcement or a confrontation. Sometimes the most powerful exit is the quiet one, where you simply remove yourself from the situation and refuse to be pulled back in. It's a confidence move that signals to yourself and to others that you're done wasting energy on what doesn't serve you. This kind of power is magnetic. It shows that you are emotionally intelligent, that you understand when something is no longer healthy, and you have the courage to step out of it, rather than drag it out for the sake of familiarity or fear of being alone. There's also a misconception that walking away means losing something important. But ask yourself, what are you really losing when you stop chasing someone who didn't appreciate you? You're not losing love or connection, you're losing stress, confusion, and emotional turmoil. You're creating space for real love, genuine connection, and peace of mind to enter your life. The moment you stop trying to convince someone to see your worth is the moment you reclaim your freedom. That freedom allows you to grow, to heal, and to thrive. It's a radical act of self-love. It means you trust yourself enough to believe that what's meant for you will come without force or struggle. This decision also breaks the cycle of dependence on external validation. So often, when we stay in toxic dynamics, it's because we're hooked on the hope that the other person will finally see us, change, or treat us better. But this hope is fragile and exhausting. When you walk away, you're telling yourself that your value doesn't depend on someone else's approval. You're the one who gets to decide how you're treated and who you allow in your life. This mindset shift is game-changing because it frees you from the emotional roller coaster and puts you back in the driver's seat. Moreover, cutting ties cleanly allows space for your personal growth. When you're no longer distracted or weighed down by someone else's ego or behavior, you can focus fully on your goals, your passions, and your happiness. You start to rebuild yourself on your own terms without compromise or apology. And this transformation is exactly what makes karma so effective. When you evolve beyond the drama, the ego, and the past, the universe naturally balances the scales. You don't have to orchestrate it, manipulate it, or wait anxiously for it. It just happens because energy flows where attention goes. By withdrawing your attention and stepping into your power, you set the wheels in motion. Finally, walking away is a gift you give yourself. It's a declaration that your well-being and peace matter more than any temporary discomfort of loss or loneliness. It's a decision that honors your worth without bitterness or regret. And as hard as it may feel at the moment, it's the beginning of a new chapter, one where you are in control, where your confidence shines, and where your life expands beyond what you thought possible. This is the kind of power that no one can take from you. It's yours forever simply because you chose it. Detachment is often misunderstood as being cold or indifferent, but in reality, it's a profound expression of confidence and self-respect. It's the moment when you stop desperately trying to control someone else's actions or feelings and instead focus on maintaining your own emotional balance. This shift isn't about shutting down your heart, it's about protecting it. When you detach, you create a space where your worth isn't tied to someone else's approval or attention. This is incredibly powerful because it means you're no longer dependent on the emotional highs and lows caused by someone else's behavior. Instead, you're anchored in your own sense of value. People often cling to relationships or situations that don't serve them because they confuse attachment with love or importance. But attachment can be a trap. It keeps you stuck in patterns of hope, disappointment, and confusion. Detachment frees you from that cycle. It allows you to observe the situation with clarity rather than emotion, and that clarity is where true strength lives. When you're detached, you're not cold, you're emotionally intelligent. You understand that sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is step back, and in doing so, you protect your energy and your sanity. Confidence doesn't always look like loud declarations or dramatic exits. Often, it's quiet, calm, and unshakable. Detachment is this quiet confidence. It says, I know my worth, and I won't let anyone else's inability to see it shake me. This mindset takes a lot of courage because it means accepting that you might not get the closure or recognition you wanted from the other person. It means letting go of the illusion that you can change someone or make them see what they're missing. Instead, you accept reality and prioritize your own healing and growth. When you detach, you also stop giving your power away by trying to fix or control the other person. Trying to control someone else's feelings or actions is exhausting and ultimately futile. It puts you in a reactive position where your happiness depends on factors outside of your control. Detachment flips this dynamic. You become proactive about your emotional health. You choose to stop investing in something that drains you and start investing in yourself. This switch from external dependence to internal empowerment is a game changer. Furthermore, detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough about yourself to refuse to tolerate disrespect, neglect, or emotional manipulation. You're making a deliberate choice to prioritize your peace. This is not easy, especially when feelings are involved, but it's one of the most respectful things you can do for yourself. It shows that you value your mental and emotional well-being over temporary comfort or familiarity. Another important aspect is that detachment helps you regain perspective. When you're emotionally entangled, it's hard to see the bigger picture. You might overlook red flags or make excuses because you're emotionally invested. Detachment gives you the distance to evaluate the situation honestly and make decisions based on what truly serves you rather than what you wish were true. This clarity empowers you to make healthier choices moving forward. The beauty of detachment is that it also invites growth and healing. When you're no longer caught up in trying to control the narrative or win someone's approval, you have the freedom to focus on yourself. You can channel your energy into things that build your confidence, happiness, and sense of purpose. This self-focus is incredibly attractive, not just to others, but most importantly, to yourself. It sets the stage for a future where your relationships are built on mutual respect and genuine connection, rather than neediness or imbalance. Lastly, detachment is a form of self-love that silently but surely shifts the dynamic. It sends a message to yourself and to the other person that you will not tolerate less than you deserve. You're not begging for attention or validation, you're standing firm in your worth and letting life unfold on your terms. This quiet confidence disarms egos and invites karma to do its work. When you let go without bitterness or desperation, you create a space where your true value can shine and where the universe has the perfect opportunity to realign things in your favor. When you remove yourself from someone's life who has inflated their ego at your expense, you're not just walking away from a relationship, you're dismantling the very foundation of their self-importance. Their ego often depends on external validation, especially from those they perceive as important or influential in their lives. When you're present, even if it's a toxic or unhealthy dynamic, you're inadvertently feeding that ego, giving it the air it needs to stay inflated. But when you disappear, when you stop responding, stop caring, stop participating, you cut off that supply. Without that attention or reaction, their ego begins to lose its power. It's like taking away the oxygen it breathes, and that's the point. An ego fueled by manipulation, control, or entitlement cannot thrive in a vacuum. It needs constant reassurance, often at your expense, to maintain its grandiosity. When you step back, you're no longer the audience to their performance. That means their sense of superiority, their need to dominate or belittle, starts to crumble because it's built on a fragile foundation, other people's responses. This is not about hurting them or being petty. It's about reclaiming your space and refusing to participate in their game. Their inflated ego, once starved of your attention, begins to deflate naturally. And that deflation is exactly the kind of balance karma loves to restore. What's important to understand is that this process doesn't require you to do anything active or vengeful. You don't have to confront, argue, or prove anything. The simple act of removing yourself from the dynamic is enough. It's like stepping off the stage, turning off the lights, and walking away from a scene they desperately want to control. When they realize you're no longer there to prop up their sense of self, their ego faces the consequences of its own instability. You may have felt at some point that your presence or approval was something they needed to validate themselves. But the truth is, no one's worth depends on your recognition. Their ego was inflated by insecurity, not strength, and it relied on you to mask its weaknesses. When you step away, you strip away that mask. It's uncomfortable for them, yes, but it's also necessary. Sometimes people grow through discomfort, and sometimes karma uses this exact method to teach hard lessons about respect, value, and boundaries. On your end, refusing to be the fuel for their ego is liberating. It frees you from the exhausting cycle of trying to maintain their sense of importance while sacrificing your own peace. Instead of being caught in their drama or manipulations, you step into your own power. This shift is not just about them losing their inflated sense of self, but about you regaining yours. When you stop allowing their ego to dominate your emotional landscape, you create a space where your confidence, self-respect, and clarity can flourish. This space is vital because it opens the door for healthier connections and a life that isn't controlled by someone else's insecurities or neediness. It's also worth noting that when an ego deflates, it can lead to a wake-up call. Some people finally realize the damage they've caused, the opportunities they've missed, or the value they lost. But whether or not they learn from it is irrelevant to your journey. Your decision to walk away and stop feeding that ego is about your growth, not their redemption. The universe has a way of balancing things out, and karma doesn't need your intervention to do its work. Your detachment is enough to set the wheels in motion. In essence, you're not just disappearing from someone's life, you're removing yourself from the role of their ego's crutch. And that's where true empowerment lies. It's a quiet, steady dismantling of what was never meant to stand on a foundation of someone else's worth. By choosing to walk away, you become a powerful force for change, not by fighting or convincing, but simply by prioritizing your own well-being and refusing to prop up a fragile ego that was never designed to respect you in the first place. Waiting for closure from someone who hurt you or disappointed you is one of the most common traps people fall into, but it's also one of the most limiting. Closure is often seen as something that only the other person can give: an apology, an explanation, or an acknowledgement of wrongdoing. We imagine that when they finally say the right words or admit their mistakes, then we'll be able to move on. But the truth is, waiting for closure from someone else gives them power over your healing process. It keeps you stuck in a loop, hoping for something that might never come, and in the meantime, your emotional well-being is held hostage by their actions or inactions. The most liberating realization is that closure isn't something you receive, it's something you create for yourself. Building your own peace means deciding, often quietly and internally, that the chapter is over. It means acknowledging the reality of what happened, accepting that you might never get the apology or validation you wanted, and choosing to let go anyway. This kind of closure doesn't rely on external validation, it comes from within. It's a radical act of self-respect to say, I'm done waiting, I'm done hoping, I'm choosing to heal on my own terms. This is where true freedom lives. Once you give yourself permission to move on without someone else's approval, you reclaim control over your emotional life. The idea of closure is also closely tied to the human desire for fairness. We want things to be right, and we want to understand why someone hurt us. But sometimes there isn't a fair answer or a satisfying explanation. People make mistakes, act selfishly, or simply don't have the capacity to give us what we need. When you wait for them to make it right, you're placing your happiness in the hands of uncertainty. By building your own closure, you're choosing certainty over doubt, peace over pain. You're saying that your healing is more important than waiting for someone else to change or acknowledge their faults. Creating your own closure often involves shifting your mindset from "why did this happen?" to "what can I learn and how can I grow from this?" This shift doesn't minimize the hurt or ignore the wrongs done, but it empowers you to use the experience as a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. When you focus on your growth and what you control, you're less likely to get stuck in the past or ruminate on what could have been. You free yourself to move forward with intention and clarity. Building closure for yourself also means setting boundaries that protect your peace. It might mean cutting off contact, limiting conversations, or removing reminders that keep the wound fresh. Sometimes it requires emotional work, journaling, therapy, meditation, or talking with trusted friends who help you process your feelings. All of these actions are about creating space for your heart to heal, rather than waiting for someone else to come in and fix it. One of the most powerful aspects of self-created closure is that it prevents you from replaying old scenarios in your mind, hoping for a different outcome. When you let go of the expectation that someone else will provide the resolution, you stop investing energy into a situation that no longer serves you. This is where peace begins, not in perfect answers, but in the acceptance that you deserve calm and happiness regardless of what happened or didn't happen with the other person. It's also important to recognize that closure is not a one-time event, it's a process. Some days will feel easier than others. There will be moments when old feelings resurface or when you wish things had gone differently. But every time you remind yourself that your peace doesn't depend on their words or actions, you strengthen your emotional resilience. Over time, this resilience becomes your armor, protecting you from being hurt by the same person or situation again. Choosing to build your own peace instead of waiting for closure is one of the most empowering decisions you can make. It's an act of self-love that honors your journey and prioritizes your well-being above all else. When you do this, you not only heal faster, but you also send a clear message to yourself and to the world. Your happiness is not negotiable, and you will never again put your emotional life in someone else's hands. One of the most draining habits we can fall into after a painful breakup or betrayal is endlessly trying to understand why someone acted the way they did. We replay conversations, analyze their behavior, and ask ourselves over and over, why did he do that? It's understandable because human beings crave closure and explanation. It helps us make sense of the chaos and protect ourselves from repeating the same mistakes. However, this constant questioning is often wasted energy. It traps us in a cycle of confusion and doubt, preventing us from moving forward and healing. The harsh but liberating truth is that sometimes you'll never get a clear answer, and trying to dissect their actions only keeps you stuck in the past. When you obsess over why, you give that person continued power over your emotional state. Your mind becomes a battleground where their behavior dominates your thoughts and feelings. You become emotionally dependent on finding meaning in their actions, hoping that once you figure it out, you'll feel better or get closure. But in reality, this is a trap. People's actions are often reflections of their own issues, insecurities, fears, selfishness, not a reflection of your worth or value. Their choices reveal more about who they are than about anything you did or didn't do. Understanding this distinction is crucial because it shifts the focus from them to you. Instead of spending your time and energy trying to decode their motives, you start redirecting that energy towards your own growth and healing. You recognize that their behavior was a choice they made, not something you caused or can control. This realization empowers you to stop wasting time on why and start investing in what now. What now means deciding how you want to rebuild your life, how you want to love yourself better, and what kind of future you want to create. Redirecting your energy is one of the most powerful acts of self-care. When you stop obsessing over someone else's behavior, you free up mental space and emotional energy to focus on your own needs. This might mean dedicating time to hobbies that bring you joy, spending time with supportive friends, or investing in personal growth through therapy, books, or new experiences. Instead of being stuck in analysis paralysis, you begin to take actionable steps toward healing. This shift is key because healing is not a passive process. It requires active participation from you. Letting go of the why also protects you from getting trapped in toxic thought patterns, like blaming yourself or endlessly rationalizing bad behavior. It helps you establish healthier boundaries and prevents you from falling into the cycle of trying to fix or change someone who either won't or can't meet you where you deserve. When you accept that some people are simply not capable of treating you well, you stop wasting time hoping they will become different. This acceptance is not resignation, it's wisdom. It's a powerful acknowledgement that you deserve better, and your focus should be on attracting that better, not trying to change the past. Another important benefit of stopping the why question is that it opens the door for forgiveness. Not necessarily for the other person, but for yourself. You forgive yourself for any perceived mistakes, for trusting, for loving, and for investing in something that didn't work out. Forgiveness frees you from bitterness and resentment, which can be heavy burdens that keep you tethered to the pain. When you forgive yourself, you reclaim your peace and give yourself permission to move forward without guilt or shame. Ultimately, asking why did he do that is a question that rarely leads to answers that heal. The truth is, some people act selfishly or hurtfully simply because that's who they are or what they were capable of at the time. Trying to find justification or deep meaning in that behavior only prolongs your suffering. The real power lies in shifting your focus from their motives to your recovery. By doing so, you reclaim your narrative. You choose to be the author of your own story, no longer a character in someone else's drama. This change in perspective is what allows you to break free from the emotional hold they have on you. It's what helps you stop circling the same questions and start living the life you deserve, one filled with respect, love, and peace. When you redirect your energy away from why and toward what now, you set yourself on a path of empowerment and growth that no one else can derail. When you focus on your own growth, happiness, and self-love, after walking away from someone who underestimated you, something remarkable happens. Your transformation becomes a powerful reflection that challenges their ego in ways words never could. Often, people with inflated egos thrive on control and the attention of others. Their sense of self-worth is tied to external validation, especially from those they've tried to diminish or take for granted. But when you choose to invest in yourself instead of chasing their approval, you step into a place of authenticity and strength that no ego can compete with. Your glow up, whether it's emotional maturity, success, confidence, or simply genuine happiness, is like a mirror held up to their own shortcomings. It's a silent but undeniable statement that says, I am thriving without you. This is not about boasting or revenge. It's about living so fully and unapologetically that their inflated sense of superiority naturally starts to crack. When they see you shining in ways they never anticipated, their ego has to face the uncomfortable truth that they lost something valuable and that your worth was never theirs to diminish. This kind of growth is transformative because it shifts the power dynamic. Instead of being stuck in a cycle of disappointment or resentment, you create distance not just physically but emotionally and spiritually. You reclaim your energy and redirect it toward things that nurture your soul, your passions, goals, and relationships that lift you higher. This focus on your own well-being acts like a magnet, attracting more positivity and opportunity into your life. As you build this new foundation, their ability to affect your emotions or sense of self diminishes. Your success and happiness also act as a form of karma in motion. Karma isn't about punishment or vindictiveness. It's about natural balance and consequence. When someone's ego has been inflated at your expense, your growth becomes the natural consequence that reflects the reality they tried to avoid. It's a reminder that what they tried to undermine cannot be destroyed, it can only be redirected to something greater. Your glow is the universe's way of restoring equilibrium, showing that respect, love, and self-worth are never truly lost, they simply find a new home within you. Moreover, investing in your own growth builds resilience. Life will always throw challenges your way, and the ability to maintain your confidence and joy despite past hurts is a testament to your strength. This resilience makes you less vulnerable to future ego games or manipulations. Instead of reacting or getting drawn into drama, you respond from a place of calm assurance. This energy is magnetic and commanding. It naturally repels toxicity and invites genuine connections. When you embody this kind of strength, it sends a clear message that you will no longer tolerate anything less than respect and kindness. Your glow-up also serves as an inspiration not just to those who may have underestimated you, but to yourself. It's a constant reminder that your worth isn't dependent on anyone else's recognition, but on the love and respect you give yourself. This internal validation is the most powerful kind because it can never be taken away. It grows stronger with every step you take toward your goals, every boundary you set, and every moment you choose peace over conflict. In essence, watching your growth break someone's ego is about more than just their reaction. It's about your own journey to self-mastery and freedom. It's about proving, above all else, to yourself that your happiness and success are not contingent on others' opinions or actions. This kind of empowerment is liberating because it means you are no longer waiting for external validation. You found it within. And that inner light is the most powerful force there is. It shines so brightly that it leaves no room for anyone else's ego to cast a shadow. By choosing to grow, thrive, and love yourself fiercely, you reclaim your narrative and create a life that reflects your true worth. This journey isn't about revenge or proving someone wrong. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. And in doing so, you naturally watch karma unfold, not as a punishment for them, but as a beautiful balance for you. In the end, forgetting someone who once held space in your life and allowing karma to gently dismantle their ego, isn't it about bitterness or revenge? It's about reclaiming your power, your peace, and your self-worth. It's about choosing yourself over the pain, growth over stagnation, and freedom over control. When you detach with confidence, create your own closure, and focus on your own growth, you not only break their hold over you, but you also invite a deeper healing and transformation within yourself. Remember, the most profound justice is living well, shining brighter, and walking forward unapologetically. That is the true power to move on, thrive, and let karma do the rest.